It's a story about Fariha, who was a coffee snob. She had traveled the world chasing the perfect brew from the hills of Colombia to the mountains of Ethiopia, but nothing quite satisfied her obsession. Every new bag she bought was just another step toward her elusive goal, until one fateful day she stumbled across a strange ad online. Experienced death in every sip. Coffin beans, limited stock. It was a small, almost laughable ad with an airy black and white photo of a coffee bag. The tagline haunted her, "Awaken your senses beyond the grave." It was probably a gimmick, a marketing ploy, but Fariha, intrigued and desperate for something new, clicked. The website was vague, no reviews, no company name, just a single buy now button. After a brief hesitation, Fariha ordered a bag. The price was steep, but the curiosity was overpowering. A week later, a small, unmarked package arrived at her door. Inside, wrapped in heavy burlap, was a dark coffee bag. The label was plain except for a symbol, an hourglass entwined with a serpent. A feeling of unease settled in her stomach as she read the warning. Must brewed, do not drink after midnight. Fariha was not superstitious, but the strange warning piqued her interest. That night, she decided to brew the coffee. The beans were unlike any she had seen before, a deep, glossy black. As they ground beneath the blade, the air around her grew colder. A faint scent of earth and decay wafted up from the grinder. She frowned, dismissing it as the strong aroma of the beans. But as the coffee brewed, the smell intensified, now almost like rotting wood. Ignoring her discomfort, Fariha poured the coffee into a mug. It was blacker than any coffee she had ever made, nearly inky. The steam rose in dark, swelling tendrils. She stared at it for a moment, feeling as if the coffee were somehow watching her. But she shrugged it off and took a sip. The taste was beyond anything she had ever experienced. It was bitter, yes, but also otherworldly. The depth of it sent a shock through her system. Her pulse quickened. She took another sip and her vision blurred. Suddenly, the air shifted. The room around her began to distort, the walls expanding and contracting like the rhythm of a heartbeat. The lights flickered. Then there was a sound distant, like muffled voices, growing louder. Fariha's heart raced as she tried to focus on the source, but it was impossible. The whispers became clear, each word dripping with dread. "Come, join us." The temperature dropped, her breath misting in the air. Her reflection in the kitchen window morphed. It was no longer her own. A gaunt figure with hollow eyes stared back at her. Her skin paled, her lips cracked. The reflection opened its mouth, but no sound came out. She tried to run away, but the figure matched her every movement, inch for inch. Panicked, Fariha rushed to the window, but the glass was gone. Instead, there was an open grave surrounded by twisted, gnarled trees. Her reflection, now in its grave, smiled wickedly. "Too late, drink more." Horrified, she stumbled back, knocking the coffee cup from the counter. It shattered on the floor, but the coffee did not spill. Instead, the liquid seemed to bleed from the cracks, spreading across the floor like an ink stain. Trembling, Fariha backed away, but then the whispers came again, louder, suffocating her thoughts. She looked down at the mug still in her hand, and the liquid inside it was moving. She tried to throw it away, but her arm would not obey. The liquid writhed as if it were alive. It slithered over the rim, curling up her fingers. She screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the darkness, now pressing it on from all sides. The last thing she saw was the reflection of herself, already lying in the grave, the cold grin stretching across her face. The next morning, Fariha's apartment was silent, and the coffee was gone. The bag had vanished, leaving only an empty mug with a single drop of black liquid clinging to the rim. But the whispers never stopped. They followed her, beckoning her closer. each sip drawing her nearer to the dark place where the coffin beans came from, and each time she closed her eyes, she could see the grave. Faria was not sure if she was awake anymore. All she knew was no matter how many times she drank, she could never escape the call of the coffin beans.